Two legends, two icons, two cars that have defined what it means to be a JDM performance machine. On one side, the lightweight, rotary-powered Mazda RX-7 FD3S. On the other, the powerhouse Toyota Supra Mark IV with its indestructible 2JZ GTE. Today, we're diving into the rivalry that shaped the 90s and still stirs debates in car communities worldwide. Buckle up. This is the RX-7 vs Supra showdown. The 1990s were a golden era for performance cars, especially in Japan. It was a time when manufacturers like Mazda, Toyota, and Nissan were pushing boundaries, creating machines like the RX-7, the Supra, and the GTR that balanced cutting-edge engineering with stunning design. Across the Pacific, the American scene just wasn't quite keeping pace. Ford was churning out angular Fox-body Mustangs, GM's Corvettes of the era were functional but lacked the sleek allure, and neither could touch the precision and performance potential of these Japanese titans. While Europe had its exotics, they were far more expensive and often out of reach. Japan really dominated the attainable sports car segment, offering world-class performance wrapped in head-turning looks. And that's why the JDM legends of this era continue to shine today. Before we dive into performance, let's roll the clock back a little bit. The RX-7 debuted in 1978, built with a singular purpose: to deliver lightweight but affordable fun. Mazda's rotary engine was an unconventional design that really set the RX-7 apart from the start. Over 3 generations, it evolved from a sprightly little coupe to a sleek, powerful, turbocharged FD3S that we know today. The Supra, on the other hand, started life also in 1978 as a luxurious offshoot of the Toyota Celica. Early on, it was all about grand touring, but by 1993, with the arrival of the Mark IV, Toyota threw their hat fully into the performance ring. The Supra now had a proper sports car pedigree, headlined by the legendary 2JZ GTE engine. So let's talk engines, because that's where the RX-7 and the Supra really carve their true identities. First, the RX-7's heart, the 1.3-liter 13B REW rotary engine. Twin rotor, sequential twin turbocharged, and unlike anything else on the market, it screams to over 8,000 RPMs and delivers 255 horsepower in a chassis that weighs just over 2,700 pounds. It's lightweight, rev-happy, and exotic. That's the rotary experience brought to you by the RX-7. Now with the Supra, under the hood is the now legendary 2JZ GTE, a 3-liter inline-six twin turbocharged engine producing 320 horsepower. It's a masterpiece of over-engineering. With an iron block, forged internals, and a low compression ratio, it's an absolute tuner's dream. You want 500 horsepower, 1,000 horsepower? The 2JZ says sure, no problem, as long as your bank account is deep enough. On paper, both cars are heavy hitters, but on the road and track, they deliver two very different experiences. The RX-7 FD is the purist's choice. It's lightweight, it's nimble, and it's all about driver connection. At just over 2,700 pounds, it's almost 600 pounds lighter than the Supra with the 2JZ turbo engine in it. With a sport-focused suspension and razor-sharp handling, the RX-7 carves corners like few cars can. The rotary's high revving nature keeps you engaged every second you're behind the wheel. The Supra, it's the heavyweight, both from a power and from an actual weight standpoint. At over 3,400 pounds, it's not quite as agile as the RX-7 is, but it makes up for that with sheer power and reliability. Stock suspension might lean towards grand touring comfort, but slap on some coilovers and some suspension upgrades, and you've got a highway missile that's also absolutely track capable. The Supra's immense grip and tunable 2JZ engine make it a beast in a straight line and a really fun car around the bends. Fast forward to today, and the RX-7 and Supra have transcended their original roles to become icons of the tuning world. Enthusiasts everywhere buy these cars with one goal in mind: making them faster, meaner, and more extreme. Let's start with the RX-7. Thanks to the lightweight chassis and the balanced design, the FD can handle impressive power upgrades with that 13B REW power plant. Now, it is common for people to swap out the rotary for things like the 2JZ, LS-powered V8s, or even turbocharged 4-cylinders, but the 13B itself, with proper care and tuning, can put down serious power up to about 700 wheel horsepower on the stock motor, while retaining the car's unique, high-revving personality. It's the tuner's dream for building a car that shines on the track, at car meets, and on the streets. And then there's the Supra. The Mark IV has a reputation that precedes itself. A platform that's built to take abuse and deliver extreme power numbers. The 2JZ GTE is one of the most over-engineered engines in automotive history, capable of reliably handling over 1,000 horsepower on stock internals with a proper turbocharger and fueling setup. The Supra dominates in straight-line performance builds, with countless examples of these engines breaking into the 4-digit power territory. And it also has robust aftermarket support, making it clear why the Supra is still a favorite for drag strips and high-speed highway pulls. Both of these cars represent the pinnacle of tunability. We have turbocharged engines that can handle high power, and whether it's the RX-7's lightweight precision or the Supra's sheer unrelenting power, they've evolved from the icons of the 90s into legends of modern car culture. So what's the verdict? Which one wins, the RX-7 or the Supra? Ultimately, that really depends on what you're looking for personally. The RX-7 is the lightweight, track-ready weapon. Out of the box, it's a sharper tool for carving apexes, but the trade-off is reliability. The rotary demands love, care, and a deep wallet for maintenance, while the Supra, on the other hand, is the bulletproof monster. It's a car that delivers endless power potential and reliability, and while it's not as agile in stock form, it's infinitely tunable. With the right performance modifications and suspension upgrades, it can be transformed into a track monster, a drag queen, or left as the ultimate street machine. In the end, the RX-7 and Supra aren't just cars to all of us in the automotive world. They're legends. They represent two sides of the JDM performance battle that took place in the 1990s. Lightweight finesse versus heavyweight power. Which one would you choose? Growing up with an RX-8, I loved the rotary power plant and have always wanted an RX-7, but I do respect and appreciate the engineering and craftsmanship that goes into Supra builds and the immense amounts of power that they can make. Of course, when it comes to reliability and performance, the 2JZ is the clear winner. It can make a lot more power on the stock motor, and it is quite a bit more reliable than the RX-7's 13B rotary, which is known to start having problems once you start getting around the 100 to 120,000 mile mark. So ultimately, if you're just looking at it from a pure power and reliability standpoint, you've got the Supra, but the RX-7 is just such a visually stunning classic JDM car, and it's about a third the price of a Supra. Anyways, guys, that covers it for my video on the RX-7 versus the Supra. I hope this was an interesting video and entertaining for you guys to learn a little bit more about both of these power plants. I know I didn't do our typical comparison saying, you know, the RX-7 can handle this much versus the Supra and reliability. These two cars are absolute icons that have been around for a long time that all of us enthusiasts are familiar with. So I wanted to pay a little homage to these two vehicles and talk about their history and shed a little bit of light on what was happening in the 1990s, because it was such a classic time for true performance cars. And in my opinion, I think Japan was leading the pack relative to America and potentially even relative to Europe as well. Anyways, guys, this video does leave a little bit more to be desired. The one vehicle that I mentioned but we didn't dig into was the R34 GTR. I feel like we'll have to do a few more of these series down the road to cover a couple of the other 90s classics, and we might have to let Zach take over the mic and let him give you his hot take on his 2JZ versus the modern BMW N54. Anyways, guys, if you appreciate this video, please click the like button, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for all the future content we have coming.